Hi guys, Jack Peach here again from the Dynastic Dating Program, and I am going to be sharing with you an interview with one of my former clients, Ian, who has been kind, gracious to honor me with his presence today and to record this quick little interview for you guys at home. So I just want to start with a quick question with you, Ian, which is I'd like you just to kind of go back to before we worked together and think about that time there and kind of tell us a little bit about what your dating history was like and why you did actually decide to reach out to me for help.
Mhm. So going back to my dating history, it would be through high school and college. I actually had girls that would be into me, and I had no way to move the relationship forwards at all. Like I would have friends tell me, "Dude, this girl is so into you," and I couldn't do anything about it. Um, and I knew that I had some flaws like that I needed to work on. And it eventually led me to finding, I think, Jack on Twitter, um, and then reaching out and working with him.
Yeah, and I, this is something that a lot of guys find where it's kind of like they don't know what to actually do in those situations, or they freeze up, or there's other things that kind of happen there. Do you recall, like, when you were in those situations with women, if there was anything kind of specifically that would happen which kind of led you to feel like I just don't know what to do in this situation?
Mhm. I think it was a mix of a few things. The first was that I'd get way too in my head, um, and then you start over analyzing, and that doesn't exactly help you be smooth uh, when you're trying to interact with someone. Um, and then the second was I was way too almost risk averse, as I wouldn't trust my instincts, even though I'm pretty sure they would have been right. And looking back at it, they definitely would have been right. Um, so getting in my head too much really prevented me from just making the correct moves.
Yeah. It's a super common thing that a lot of guys have, particularly like yourself. Like, one of the things we talked about, you are a more kind of analytical, more intelligent guy, and I do think that is something that tends to plague, guys who are a bit more analytical, a bit more introverted as well. Although I don't think you were actually the most introverted, as I recall. You're pretty social. Um, but in terms of, like, dealing with these issues and kind of going through the process of, like, okay, how do I stop overthinking? How do I stop overanalyzing? How do I learn to trust my instincts more and actually move things forward? Did you find that, the process that we went through helped you with that? And what, if it did help, what were the results of that for you?
Yeah, it was a massive help actually. Just because it's not the kind of advice that I needed to hear. You can't really hear from just anyone.
Mhm.
Um, it's not really something that guys talk about with their friends. It's not really something that guys talk about with their dad. Um, but there was just a bit of advice, and then someone telling me to go practice it. And the combination of those two really helped get me out of my head. And the practice is structured in such a way that it really is just baby steps. So you get to stay, not quite in your comfort zone because you still have to grow, but it's totally within what you're able to do. And I found that rather quickly, I was able to be much more in the moment, which makes life just more fun in general.
Mhm.
That doesn't just help with approaching a girl, that makes just hanging out with your guy friends more enjoyable. That makes hanging out with your family more enjoyable. Um, yeah, I think getting out of overanalyzing is one of the best decisions I made. Just because, like I said, it makes life so much more enjoyable. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, and in terms of dating as well. One thing I want to touch on before that as well is, I think something you mentioned that's really important is those baby steps. Like it's like the program is designed with that in mind that I don't want to just throw people into the deep end. It's very much about building out the habits and kind of making you understand what's actually happening, right, on the kind of deeper level. And as someone who's been through that, like you can probably attest to that, I'd imagine. Like
Mhm.
on that, how did you find that? Like did you like in terms of being in the moment, being more present with girls, with with your family, as you mentioned, friends, etc. Um, was it kind of was the process that we went through, was it structured in a way that just made sense and made it easy for you to enact?
Oh, 100%. I think one of my biggest takeaways from the program is that interacting with people socially is primarily inertia based, where once you get the ball rolling, it just comes so much easier to you. But like even now, if I go a while without interacting, all I know is that if I start it rolling again, then it gets back to being very easy. And so the program doing baby steps really just walks you through that. Um, and then you can jump to whatever level of confidence you really want whenever you want.
Yeah, for sure. It helps. It helps a lot in a lot of different areas. It's good. And in terms of dating life, like, you like you said previously, you would have girls interested in you, you'd never move it forward. As I recall, you hadn't been in a relationship previously, right? Before we worked together. No. And like in terms of your actual dating life and relationships, things like that, what happened as a result of for you going through the program?
Um, I knew that the girl I would probably end up with, I would meet from friends. And that's exactly what happened. I think like 5 weeks into the program,
Something like
um,
that, yeah.
yeah, I met this one girl and we hit it off just instantly. Um, and I don't think I actually wasn't even trying to hit on her. I was just trying to be sociable and be like, oh, this would be a great time to practice. But it ended up working so well that we went out that night and just talked for like 4 hours, me and this girl, and then asked her on a date, and then a few more dates, and we've been dating since then. So it worked
Yeah, and that's often,
almost
by the
immediately.
way, that's often, by the way, it often works. Is when you're least looking out for it, is when these things kind of pop into their life, which is why it's so important to create the habits and the systems that kind of set you up for success, because you never know when that woman is going to come into your life, and it's just about being
Mhm.
able to capitalize on those opportunities. It's basically how I run the program. It's about giving you the skills and the way of being to some regard that means that you can capitalize on opportunities, and then we try and create more of the opportunities as well. And then on a long enough time scale, you're going to meet someone. It was just for Ian, it was pretty quick, as I say, 5 or 6 weeks
Mhm.
into the program. um and you mentioned you're still with her. Like, how long have you guys been together now?
We've been together, what is this, 16 months now?
Oh yeah, so it's been that long since we worked together.
Mhm.
That's a long time. If it doesn't feel like that
Yeah.
long ago. Um, yeah. And do you feel as well, like, because one of the things that we do as well is do talk about, what to do with it when we're in a relationship and kind of having a bit of a relationship model. How did you find that helped you? Would you say that you're not just together? Would you say your relationship is hopefully good as well?
Oh yeah, it helps that the girl that I met is just fantastic.
Will make
But
things easier.
that did help out quite a lot. But no, there was a lot because when I started dating, um, we shifted the program from approaching girls to like what to do in the start of a relationship and everything like that. And I found that to be really really helpful actually. That helped accelerate things more. And then some just maintenance things in a relationship is another thing that you don't really get advice on anywhere
Mhm.
else. But Jack had some good advice there as well.
Yeah, and so far it seems to be working, which is
Mhm.
good. I want to chat a little bit as well, because one of the things that we need to do is we need to make sure that we're focusing in on like the right kinds of people, right? Meet, like you say, when you meet the right woman, it should be easy. That's one thing I always say to people. You meet a person, it should feel easy. It shouldn't feel like you're trying to pull teeth. That's probably a sign that, it's not really going to last. Um,
Mhm.
but in terms of like, the kind of women you meet, and as I recall, you're a Christian, right?
Yes.
As well.
Yep.
And how did you find like the program like kind of aligned with your beliefs and help you find a woman who was also aligned with your beliefs?
I think that this is actually probably the highlight of the program, is that you recognize that the dating game isn't really Christian anymore, but that you can still play as a Christian and still do
Yeah.
very well. It's just like the rules are a bit different, um, but if you apply them, you'll still have really good success. And I think that that's one of the things some that Christian guys just don't know what to do, is that there aren't the same rules that we had before. So
Mhm.
there's just less guidance, on how to meet the right girl and stuff like that. But um, yeah, you still can do it.
Yeah, 100%. I actually think like the way that the church talks about dating has to change. Like, I think that's one of the things I want to really kind of try and push forward. And it's not like, just to kind of clarify like what Ian's saying and also what I believe, it's not like advice from, pastors or church members is like ill-intentioned or something. It's not at all. It's just, a lot of these guys are older, they've been through a different dating market and they just don't quite get it, in the same way that I'm sure me in 10 years won't get. Even now, I don't get some of the stuff that the teenagers are doing, with TikTok and stuff like that. It's just,
Mhm.
that's just part of life. And it's about, being able to thread that needle. I think you really articulated it well. Like it's how to date in the modern landscape as a Christian, right? That's still
Mhm.
aligned with your beliefs. And, it seems like it worked well for you, Ian. And kind of more generally, was there anything else that like working, going through the program, working with, was there anything you specifically really enjoyed? Was there anything that you found that was particularly useful as well that we haven't talked about so far?
Um, I think we touched on being in the moment is a big one, and then how to accelerate. Although, is that the word that you use? What's the word?
Um, in terms
Just
of
like
what?
move along a relationship.
To what, sorry?
Escalate. It's escalate. That's
Oh,
the thing.
escalate. Yeah, yeah. How to
Just like how
escalate
to
from
escalate.
stage to stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Is just having a framework to do all of that was very helpful. And it was amazing where when I could whenever I applied it well, things went spectacularly. And whenever things weren't going so well, I was like, wow, I really wasn't doing a good job escalating there. Um, so it was just funny to see how well that one worked and getting like the immediate feedback on it. Um, I think that was actually one of a good part of the program is that you would do things throughout the week and then you would get feedback on them, that week or, that month. Um, is it made it very easy to iterate because usually in dating there
Yeah.
isn't very much feedback, but just being able to bounce ideas with someone as to why someone's responding this way or what to do in this situation, it was actually very helpful.
Yeah, yeah, and that is why it's structured in the way that we meet every week and we talk every week, whether it's a call or a video, a personalized video, whatever it might be, is for that. And that's actually where you get the biggest changes because you're getting that iterative growth. A lot of other guys don't do that, and you end up making some progress, and then it's like one step forward, two steps backwards kind of situation, which I've tried
Mhm.
to specifically mitigate before. So kind of final question then, Ian. Again, thank you again
Mhm.
for having your time here. Is, if
Oh yeah.
someone was on the fence about working with me, about joining the Dynastic Dating Program, what would you say to them? And would you recommend working with me? And if so, why?
I would absolutely recommend it. I think that the amount of time that you'll spend working on these skills yourself will take you several years, and then even then they might not be as good as if you work with Jack, just because it has a good uh, like systems for thinking about it, just because he's worked with so many people. um, so it's much easier to have a well-established system and just apply that yourself. It worked for me very, very well, actually. It was not very hard to implement. I say it was probably the best investment I've made, just because, like I've said, it's made life so much more enjoyable. And I was actually able to capitalize on the opportunity of meeting an amazing woman. Um, is We've been dating like 16 months now, and that's just going fantastic. So for the cost you're paying, you're really getting a lot out of it. Stuff that you'll really carry with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, 100%. It's an investment. It's an investment in
Mhm.
your soft skills as much as your dating skills, right? It's
Mhm.
those things help professionally. They help you with your friends, your relationships, other relationships, not just your romantic relationships. Because as Ian can attest for, it's very much understanding what's going on below the surface, right? Both within you and other people,
Mhm.
which is why it's so effective as well. No, again, appreciate you doing this, Ian.
Mhm.
I want to say thank you very much for giving your time, for putting your face to it. I know it takes a bit of courage, a bit of balls to be able to talk about these things publicly. It's not something that's particularly common, I think, for people to do, or kind of
Mhm.
like definitely not. It's definitely not something that's normalized, if you know what I mean. But really appreciate you doing that. Helps me out obviously a lot, and it helps. I'm sure some people at home who can relate to your situation and hopefully
Mhm.
get similar results as you. So, any final thoughts you want to say to the people at home?
Just that's why I came on, actually, is it worked. My life is so much better now because of it. Is I hope that I can help pay that forward some, convince other people to do it as well.
Awesome. I appreciate it a lot, Ian. And yeah, have a great day. And we'll say goodbye to people at home. Thank you very much. See you soon.